If you have debt right now and you're not investing, you could be sitting on a $50,000 mistake. But here's the twist nobody talks about. If you're investing while you're still in debt, that could be costing you just as much. Both of these are true at the same time for different people. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which one applies to you. Not because I'm going to tell you what to do, but because I'm going to give you a 2-minute calculation that does it for you. I'm a financial educator, and I've watched thousands of people get this decision wrong in both directions. Some people throw every spare dollar at debt for years, while their friends quietly build 6-figure portfolios. Others start investing aggressively, while their credit card balance grows in the background, eating them alive. Today, we're fixing that. Stick around because the math in the middle of this video is the part that actually changes outcomes, and most people never sit down and run it. Let's start with why pay off your debt first became the default advice in the first place. It comes down to one number, the interest rate you're being charged. In the US right now, the average credit card sits at roughly 22%. Personal loans average around 11%. Mortgages are closer to 6.5%. Here's what that actually costs you. Say you're carrying $6,000 on a credit card at 22%, and you don't touch it for a year. You'll owe about $1,320 in interest alone, on top of whatever you already borrowed. A $12,000 personal loan at 11% adds up to roughly $1,320 in interest over year 2. And a $350,000 mortgage at 6.5%. Over a 30-year term, you'll pay back close to $446,000 in interest alone on top of the amount you borrowed. That's more in interest than the entire value of the loan itself. So it's easy to see why kill the debt first became the rule everyone repeats. But here's the problem. Following that rule blindly, without ever checking the actual numbers for your situation, can quietly cost you tens of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. Let me show you exactly how. This is where the stock market comes in. When you invest in stocks, your balance moves up and down day to day, but historically, a broad index fund has returned around 7% a year after inflation, averaged over long periods. The part most people underestimate is what happens when those returns start compounding. Picture investing $100 and earning 7% in year 1. You'd have $107. In year 2, you don't just earn 7% on your original $100, you earn it on the full $107, which gives you $114.49. That extra 49 cents looks tiny, but stretch this out over decades and it stops looking tiny at all. Now imagine you invest $150 a month into a low-cost index fund tracking the broader US market. After 10 years, you'll have put in $18,000 of your own money. But thanks to compounding, your account could be worth around $26,000. About $8,000 of that came from growth you didn't have to lift a finger for. After 20 years, you'll have contributed $36,000, and your account could be sitting at roughly $78,000. More than half of that balance is pure growth. After 30 years, you'll have put in $54,000 total, yet your investment could be worth around $183,000. That means $129,000 of your final balance came from the market doing the work, not from your own contributions. This is the part people miss. Time matters more than almost anything else in this equation. Waiting 5 extra years to start doesn't just delay your progress, it can permanently shrink your final number because you lose years of compounding that can never be recovered later, even if you invest more aggressively to catch up. So how do you actually decide what to prioritize? Here's the formula. Compare the interest rate on your debt to the return you could reasonably expect from investing. If your debt costs more than investing is likely to earn you, paying it off wins, and it wins by a guaranteed margin with zero risk attached. If your debt is cheap, somewhere in the 4% to 6% range, the answer stops being obvious. And that's exactly where most people get stuck. Let's run the numbers on a low-rate example. Say you have $8,000 of debt at 6%, with a minimum payment of $150 a month. If you only ever pay the minimum, you'll be debt-free in a little over 5 years, and you'll pay around $1,330 in interest along the way. Now let's say you find an extra $180 a month in your budget. You've got two options. Strategy A: throw everything at the debt. You pay $330 a month total, which clears the balance in just over 2 years, costing you roughly $565 in interest, about $765 less than the minimum payment path. Once it's gone, you take that full $330 a month and invest it for the remaining 3 years until you hit the 5-year mark. By the end of that period, your investment could be worth around $13,200. Strategy B: keep paying the $150 minimum on the debt and invest the extra $180 a month from day one for the entire 5+ years, assuming that same 7% average return. By the end, your investment could land around $13,400, and you'd still pay close to that original $1,330 in interest on the debt, since you never accelerated it. Look at how close those two outcomes are. Strategy A saves you about $765 in interest. Strategy B gives your money more time in the market. The two effects almost completely cancel each other out. This is exactly why low-interest debt creates so much confusion. The math genuinely doesn't hand you a clear winner. Small shifts in your assumptions, like how consistent you are with contributions, or what the market actually returns that decade, can tip the result either direction. Now compare that to high-interest debt. Take that same $8,000 balance, but at a 22% credit card rate instead of 6%. Left alone for a year, that's roughly $1,760 in interest, just sitting there working against you. At that rate, paying it down first isn't a close call anymore. The interest you're avoiding is far higher than anything you can reliably expect from investing, and unlike the market, it's guaranteed. There's no scenario where carrying 22% debt while investing on the side comes out ahead. But the math is only half the story. The other half is psychological, and this is where a lot of well-intentioned plans fall apart. Picture this. You've got a low-interest loan, so you decide to start investing instead of rushing to pay it off. You open an account, pick a solid index fund, and set up automatic monthly contributions. For a while, everything feels great. Then, one morning, you open the news and see headlines warning about a market downturn. You check your account and your balance is down 9%. Suddenly, that smart decision feels like a mistake, and you're tempted to sell everything and move the money somewhere safe. This is panic selling, and it's one of the most common ways people destroy their own returns. If you look at a long-term chart of the broader market, you'll see it has dropped sharply more than a dozen times over the past 70 years. And every single time, it eventually climbed to new highs. Anyone who sold during one of those drops locked in a real loss that the market itself never actually suffered long-term. The drop was temporary. The decision to sell made it permanent. So before you choose to prioritize investing over debt, ask yourself honestly how you'd react if your balance dropped overnight. If you're investing for a goal that's 10, 20, or 30 years away, a downturn shouldn't change your plan at all. You have time on your side. If you're going to need that money within the next few years, investing might not be the right tool regardless of the interest rate math, because you can't afford to be forced to sell at a bad moment. This is also why an emergency fund matters more than people give it credit for. Before you funnel extra money into investing, set aside enough cash to cover 3 to 6 months of expenses. It's not just about being ready if your car breaks down or your roof starts leaking. It's about removing the temptation to sell your investments in a panic the next time life throws something unexpected at you. If you have kids, an unpredictable income, or you just feel anxious about money in general, lean toward the higher end of that range, or even beyond it. At the end of the day, this isn't a competition to find the technically optimal answer and apply it no matter what. It's about finding the version of optimal that you can actually stick with. If carrying debt keeps you up at night, paying it off aggressively might not be the highest return move on paper, but the peace of mind it buys you is worth something real, and it can prevent the kind of stress-driven financial mistakes that erase any advantage the math gave you in the first place. If your debt is cheap and manageable, and market swings don't rattle you, investing alongside your minimum payments can hand your money decades of extra growth time that you can never get back once they're gone. Run your own numbers. Take your interest rate, take what you could realistically invest, and see which side actually wins for you, not for some hypothetical average person on the internet. If this helped you think through your own situation, share it with someone who's stuck on the same decision. And if you want the next video in your feed to be the one that helps you actually build the investing habit once you've made your choice, you know what to do. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.